That's right. Cannon goes boom. We are back on a Sunday of Comic-Con weekend, and a celebration of this hobby week and characters and properties we know and love. And Joe, I'd have to say it was a hot one. I'd say there's a lot of things that came out. What would you think?
It was a hot one, like 7 inches from the midday sun, in the words of Rob Thomas of Matchbox.
Yeah, Rob Thomas, the prolific singer-songwriter of Matchbox 20 as well, right?
Yeah, that is the greatest song of the 90s, as we all know.
Say it again. Which song?
The greatest song of the 90s, Smooth by Santana.
With Carlos Santana. Okay, I'll think about it.
Okay,
with that being said, though, why don't we just get to the show? We do a lot of our little preamble, and it's not even worth it. We got stuff to talk about. We got big news, a San Diego Comic-Con recap with our editor, news editor of the Canon, Josh's Comics, but it doesn't stop there with Josh's Comics, does it, Joe?
It does not. We need to bring in a little bit more backup. Someone who actually was at San Diego Comic-Con, unlike the three of us.
He was there.
He's here in the flesh, the legendary, the stupendous, the spectacular, the honorable Dante LaTorre.
That's correct. But guess what? Oh, Dan, please speak real quick.
You're laying it on too thick, Joe. Come on. I don't have any credentials whatsoever.
Look at you. Goodness, humble brag. But guys, it doesn't stop there because we have a surprise guest that not even Dan knows about, not even Josh knows about. Only the C-suite people who live on top of the Canon know about right now. Everybody, the big reveal. We had a big reveal this weekend as well. Who is it? Who is it?
Oh, snap.
Bum, bum, bum. I wish we had some music for this. Who could that be? Look at this.
This is ominous.
It is ominous indeed. Oh, the hood comes off. Oh, there he is.
Hello.
It's Jono.
Right.
Welcome back.
Hello.
Yo, Kylo Doom is not a bad name, by the way.
Kylo Doom, you like that?
We didn't know you were doing that, but that's pretty dope. By the way, Plagueis guesses everything. Everything.
Always knows.
Are you still in Seattle? Chris,
I just got home at like midnight last night. So 9 days, 3 states, a bunch of comic book shops. It was amazing.
Listen, it's great to have you back on the Canon on a huge weekend full of news. We sent you the show rundown. I hope you got it. It's in your email. But there's lots to talk about here. And we just have to have our news editor, Josh, kick us off. What do we got first, sir?
Well, we're going to talk some Deadpool and Wolverine news. No spoilers, but they have an estimated $450 million opening.
Woo!
I think they just closed out at $438 million, so that is the total. And it is breaking tons of records, amazing reviews. I love the movie. I know most of us have seen it. I recommend you guys go out and see this movie. You will not be disappointed. It is maybe my favorite movie since Endgame.
Wow, that's a tough bill to top right there. Why don't we go? How about Joseph? I'm not sure if Kylo Doom saw it, but Joseph, thoughts?
Yeah, loved it. It was, we kind of went in expecting a little bit of multiverse because it's the multiverse saga, a little bit of comedy because it's actually a lot of comedy.
There's a lot of comedy.
Some, just sheer Hugh Jackman awesomeness. And definitely we expected a love letter to the Fox franchise, kind of closing it out officially and, ushering in this new, this new season of the MCU with these Fox characters now reverting back to Marvel officially. It was great. A solid 8 to 8.5 movie. I really liked it. I don't want to say too much because obviously we don't want to give spoilers away. So at some point, maybe we'll do, not necessarily here, but maybe I'll do like a spoiler chat once, give it a week or two so people see the movie, and I'll do like a live stream or something on Instagram for that. But go see it. I mean, if you liked the Fox franchise, if you like the MCU, if you enjoy the Deadpool movies, go see it as soon as possible. Don't get spoiled on stuff.
Okay, before I'm going to go last. So I don't know if Dan or Chris, you guys saw it, but please let us know.
I have not seen it. I'm probably the odd man out. I was kind of busy in San Diego, but I will see it later this week. But I'm not surprised it's getting rave reviews because this is a make it or break it movie for the MCU after the years of the pandemic and then the writer's strike. They had to nail this one. Then obviously they did. So I'm very much looking forward to this. This will springboard the MCU back into the limelight for quite some time.
I'm going to cut in real quick before Chris talks. I don't think it was a make or break situation here. I think it was something that would have gotten them back up a notch to where they have been. I love what Broke Boy Comics says here. It was a love letter to comic book fans, and we'll get into that in a hot second. Chris.
Yeah, no, I haven't seen it yet. I'm going with my son on Wednesday, so
I can't wait to hear what you and Dan think about it. I loved it. I absolutely loved it. I had so much fun in that theater, and it's been a long time since I've felt like I've had fun. I've enjoyed being there. I've been entertained. Whatever film I'm seeing, whether it be a comic book film or what have you, I legitimately had so much fun in that seat. I thought it was fantastic. Yeah, there are plot loopholes. That's the biggest criticism people have. But it's Deadpool. It's and it's also the multiverse, so that you're going to be able to maybe poke some holes in a few things there. I was with Alicia, who's not the biggest comic book movie fan, but she sees them. She had a blast. She didn't know a lot of those people. I had to explain a few cameos. And my God, there were cameos galore. That is people are not exaggerating. But she had so much fun and there were deep cuts that were in the film that she didn't get. But afterwards, I told her about a few things, and she was like, "That's really cool." So she loved it. And I'm going to see it again. I know, Josh, you said you're probably going to see it again, but
I'm definitely going to see it. Yeah,
I want to see it in the theater again. So please leave us comments in the chat what you think of the Deadpool and Wolverine debut this weekend. Not only what you thought of the film, but the massive bag of loot that they brought in. So and
something to note about that is the only rated R movie to ever hit $1 billion is The Joker. Still to this day, that movie came out 5 or 6 years ago at this point, and that was the first and still only rated R movie. Deadpool 1 and 2 didn't quite make it there. They did very well, but in my opinion, I've been saying this for a while. This movie's going to hit that. It's going to.
We're a quarter of the way there, aren't we?
Almost half the way there.
Oh,
like I said, they closed out as of today because they do the 3-day forecast or a 3-day thing. They already hit 438 million.
Yeah.
So we're halfway there.
Yeah,
and they also have the highest opening for an R-rated film ever. So they already broke that, but I think this is gonna it's gonna hit over $1 billion for sure.
Yeah.
I don't see it not doing it.
It's exciting again. Another milestone for a comic book movie, for a property we all believed in, including Ryan Reynolds, who did not give up and putting his vision and the actual, that have ties to the actual character on screen and being so successful at it. Kudos. And
shout out to Marvel, because a lot of stuff did not, they put out fake leaks. Yeah. I'm sure you guys read about that, and it worked because there were some things that not even I knew were in the film that were a surprise to me. So we'll talk about that eventually.
And you are the Adam Schefter of the canon. So moving on, we got more. Now we're going to get into it. That San Diego Comic-Con recap, tons of news. We're talking what? We're talking 10 stories here, 11 stories just based off of San Diego Comic-Con. So let's get at it, Josh. What is next?
Well, we're going to start off with some DC news. Kind of excited about this, but I'm a bit confused. We'll see what's going to happen with this. So Joe Kinnaman will reportedly return as Rick Flag in Peacemaker Season 2. I don't know how this is going to work, but essentially Peacemaker Season 2 is like a reboot of Peacemaker, and it doesn't really follow the Suicide Squad or Season 1. So does this mean that Rick Flag is potentially still alive, or is it just going to be probably a flashback scenario maybe? We'll have to wait and see.
I don't know. Let's let Chris go first. Again, I'm so excited to hear from Chris, especially on a day like today, with it being Comic-Con weekend. Chris, your thoughts? As you know, he was killed by Peacemaker in the Suicide Squad. Chris, thoughts?
Yeah, I don't know too much about what's going on with this. I think the best thing for me is just somebody is a fan is I'm not going to worry about it until I see it. Of course, that's the whole everything DC, again, and I'm very much I'm in that state with everything right now. Oh, look, the new guy playing Superman in his suit, the collar doesn't look right. It's just like, I'm not even going there. We'll see. I'm not going to be mad at them doing X, Y, or Z just because of the history with the mess of what DC has been doing the last, 11 years. So I don't know whether it's a soft reboot or they just want to change it all together. Like if it's good and entertaining and it works moving forward, I'm not going to be mad about it.
Well, if it's a reboot, if that's what they're stating as well, like season 2, then nothing before that has right. any lasting effect. And anything's fair game. So with that said, maybe Rick Flag is still alive. So and I would love to see him there because he was great in the first film and the second film.
Agreed.
Even though the first film was garbage. So yeah, I don't know. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I think what Tom says here is definitely viable. That Rick Flag could be kind of a Force Ghost kind of character. Where his guilty conscience is talking hits. I'm currently rewatching Dexter, which we'll be talking about in a little bit, I think. Maybe did that make the news? I don't know. But I'm currently rewatching that show, and his father is dead the entire series. His father's never alive during it, but you get him in flashback scenes and you get him in this subconscious that talks to Dexter. Definitely a great way to do it.
I'd love to hear from De La Torre, Mr. Dan De La Torre. I don't know if you've seen Suicide Squad, the most recent film, and Peacemaker.
No. I've seen the original Suicide Squad, the first one. I haven't seen the second one.
All right, then we need to move on because
the
second one was very good, I thought. All right, in more DC news, Joshua.
So speaking of DC, DC Comics has announced a new JSA comic series written from the writer of Just Lamar and artist Diego.
I have no idea how to say this last name.
Yeah.
The art looks good, though. The art does look good.
Diego Olortigui?
Yeah.
Maybe?
Let's just call him Diego O.
Diego O. There we go.
I mean, we have a great look right here of the art. So I'm kind of excited for this. Just Society of America, I was never really big on, but in the last few years, I've kind of really started digging them, and especially the Jeff Johns run with the Alex Ross cover art. So I'm happy for this, and I'm kind of hoping, man, we get some JSA actually in the DCU.
Yeah, I think this is really cool, and this, honestly, this art right here, I haven't seen any of this, but specifically the circle in the middle with the JSA table. This really reminds me of, is this art from the comic?
Yes.
Yes.
The new one that's coming out?
Yeah.
This reminds me of just like classic, like early 2000s DC, which I think they were doing a really good job at putting out good art, good stories, lots of details and stuff like that. And you can see we've got a cool perspective here going over the top, all the characters in their own place. And like even the fact that the table is see-through and you can kind of see, a blurred version of the under half. It's just so detailed. And I love that.
Yeah. The art looks great. Cool. And I think it's a press release I got this from. But for sure, it's one of the, DC, we tend to forget that DC has such a long and rich history, almost twice as long as Marvel. And this was a staple. This was one of the groups back in the day, the JSA. So it's fun to see that. And a writer like Jeff Lemire, who I didn't realize has history with DC, but, because we know Jeff Lemire from a lot of things, including Sweet Tooth. But this is cool. I'd be interested in seeing this if there's a jumping on point for this. I was never really into the JSA, but I like this announcement. We cannot have awkward moments of silence.
What was that? There's
that
five
was
left here.
Five
Look how
people.
flight
All
over
right,
for
we're
it.
going to
We're
cleanse the
ready for the
palate
next
and we're
person.
going to move on. Am I right? We're going to do better for this next one that I'm excited about. Joshua, kick it off.
Yeah, we got the first trailer for Creature Commandos, which will be releasing in December on Max. I'm honestly not sure. Like, I've never known about Creature Commandos until James Gunn announced this a few years ago. It's kind of like, in my opinion, just another Suicide Squad film, kind of different, like, like a pre-team maybe, but I'm interested. It looks good. We do know that he said anybody from the animation, as like you're seeing right now, will transition over to live action. Now, I don't know if that means we'll actually see some of these characters. We know Rick Flag Sr. will be live action in Superman, but so far, I mean, it looks pretty decent. I'll definitely check it out.
Yeah, this animation looks phenomenal. The show looks great. This is actually the first time I'm watching it. I have not seen this trailer yet, so you're getting my true live reaction right here. We do have the #1 Creature Commandos fan in the room right now, Dr. Guion Tom. He was big on Creature Commandos before the announcement. I think he said he has a 9.8 of their first appearance, which is
amazing.
A book that no one had before. Yeah, there we go. Creature Commandos is my jam. He just said it in the chat. So I'm excited about that. I mean, it is similar to Suicide Squad and being like kind of a misfit team. But I think it could be a really cool opportunity to give a look at some lesser known characters, which I always think is really good when the lesser known, even the C tier stuff and B tier characters go really mainstream, and people learn and they want to learn more. They dive in elsewhere into comics. So that's pretty cool.
Now, this is a property from the 80s. It was first. They first appeared in the 80s in a war anthology series, I do believe.
It's weird war tales.
Yeah. So also keep in mind, this is our first glimpse at the James Gunn and Peter Safran universe. This is it right here. The first release will be in December. And this has James Gunn written all over. You saw one of the characters giving the finger. People are dropping F-bombs in the trailer. It's not a kid's show. It is not a kid's show. It's straight up James Gunn. And this could be something that you can start looking towards as the tone of what the DCU will be. I need to have more commentary from Kylo Doom and the Dan De La Torre, please.
Chris, go ahead, please. Go ahead, man.
Oh, okay. Thanks. I haven't seen the trailer either. I'm not familiar with the characters. I agree with you, though, Jeff, in terms of like the first look that we're really getting. I think animation has so much capability. And I'll just use What If is an example. Yeah. You could tell What If is like Disney. Like, the characters kind of look like Disney princesses, like from Disney animated films. But it's also very much Marvel Comics. And we know that, pairing those two things has worked really well, in my humble opinion. I know that DC animation has always been top notch. Like, I put some of the DC animated films like above probably the majority of the DCEU.
I mean, that's so easy to say. Absolutely,
yeah, right.
100%.
So, but now, again, so my initial reaction is like, oh, it's going to be like this, but this is still new and fresh. And I think, again, we got to be careful of our expectations. And one thing I will say, though, basically, I think that what James Gunn's going to do and what he's going to be able to do it using animation is going to be really amazing. I do believe that. But I think one thing moving forward with James Gunn, because like you said, Jeff, this has James Gunn written all over it. James Gunn has to be able to not allow everything in the DCU to be James Gunn, though.
That's spot on.
Spot
on.
Yeah.
And I think he's a collaborative guy. I really think that's going to happen. I have no doubt. I would like to hear from somebody who has a lot of doubt about this new regime, and that is Mr. Dan De La Torre.
James Gunn has always been known for a darker approach to things, and this kind of dovetails with just looking at the trailer here, kind of dovetails with what he wants to do. But for the first time, I'm actually seeing a lot of I'm seeing not just hope, but I'm interested in what I see here. Keep in mind that DC has dominated the animation market way over Marvel for a number of years, and this would cross over with that. But if Gunn, who has a lot of toys to play with, a lot of characters to work with, if he goes down this road and integrates the animation with what's on the big screen, I think again, it's piquing my interest. And I'm trying not to say too much because I want to save it for the segment of what I'd seen at San Diego Comic-Con, because I'm certain that what I'm going to provide dovetails with this perfectly.
But we got to also keep in mind that this is part of the shared universe too, where the animated films are not really a cohesive universe. Does that make sense? Like this right here starts the James Gunn and Peter Safran world building, so to speak. So we have to acknowledge that, because that could be something that's completely different. By the way, I do want to state we're not doing the popcorn this week. We're not doing Ask Joe. We're going to get all of this news out of the way because there's a ton, including Ian reporting on site. Hood Rat Comics. We got a lot to get through, so we kind of omitted a few of our segments. There's also not a featured episode issue. We've missed the past two, which is terrible on us. But we'll get back to it next week because this is a holiday for the things that we love. But anyways, I'm super excited for Creature Commandos. Let us know in the comments if you're super excited for that as well. Again, that's starting the DCU Studios experience. And speaking of, I love this story right here. It's very nostalgic. Joshua, please.
Yeah, so I'm actually very excited for this. James Gunn revealed the new DC logo, which will move forward, and it will be appearing not only in the movies, but shows, toys, comics, everything DC related. And it's just like a great callback to the Bullet logo that I feel like is just one of the best logos out there. It's simple, but like, man, it brings back old feelings and memories of great DC content, I would say. So I'm loving this. I don't know about you guys, but I love it. I think it looks great.
I got to hear from Chris first. I have a feeling I know where he stands on this. Chris.
Yeah, I love it, man. I mean, maybe maybe I'm biased just because of my age and the logo being, obviously my time period, but I love it, man. I love that they already went back to the classic just DC in the comic books, which, was that's like Bronze Age down into silver was the DC. And then, of course, in the late 70s, I believe they added the stars in the outer circle. So
76.
I love it. What's that?
1976.
There you go. Yep.
I looked it up the other day. I was curious.
I mean, for a while, this was the only logo I knew. And every logo after this just was garbage to me. Like, it was like overproduced corporate crap. Like, all of it sucks. This is just, it brings back a lot of good feelings. And this is a perfect move. And they need to be doing moves like this, especially based on what Chris has said earlier on in the show, but not only earlier on in the show, earlier on in the canon, when Chris and I were doing it, like, we were so consistent. It's like, you got to prove it to us now because you've let us down so many times. But this logo helps with that. And I don't know, Josh, I don't know if you want more of your thoughts on this as well.
Man, I'm just like, so I'm 30. I'm the youngest probably out of this whole group. But like,
I'm actually 8 years younger than you. But go ahead.
I have to ask your mom if I can see your birth certificate.
Mom!
Underneath the pillow. But I'm telling you, I think the classic look of it. It just like, and like you guys are saying, like, we're getting a lot in the comics. It's kind of going back to the classics, and like, man, I love it. Like, I'm having a good time with it. I know some people don't really like it. But that's, hey, it is what it is. I love it.
Everybody has an opinion. including Dan De La Torre. Dan, please let us know.
Your icon or your logo is who you are. And if you go to, let's say, maybe not the best example of McDonald's or Burger King, you know what you're going to get. If you like that sort of food, you're expecting it, you're expecting the quality, but you feel like you're comfortable under that particular umbrella. That DC logo was our umbrella that we all adhered to, especially when I was a kid back in the 70s.
Yeah, and one of the things that I really like about it is, like, Marvel is a name. Marvel. You know, there aren't too many other companies that use Marvel in the name. DC is just 2 letters. So you really need to distinguish yourself, because there's a DC shoe company, skateboarding shoes. And I'm sure there's other DC. There's Washington, DC. It might be a reference to that. Could be direct current if you're dealing with electricity. But it's so distinguishable. Like, you see this, even if you aren't super into comic books, I think probably a large portion of the population can pick this out as being, oh yeah, that's Batman, that's Superman, whatever it may be. And yeah, just, the old saying, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. This is it. This is their logo.
It was never broke. You know what I mean? And then it became broke when they changed it to other garbage. So anyways, it's a consensus across the board. The 5 of us are very happy about this. So we're going to move on to something I'm very happy about. I know all of you are as well. Our judge, the comic book canon judge, Dan De La Torre, the Honorable Dan De La Torre, made his first appearance, full first appearance, not a cameo, at San Diego Comic-Con, and also made an impression. So we have a recap from the judge himself. Now, Judge, we didn't get to prep this recap, but we have 2 images here of exclusives you got, and I think you're going to be talking about your overall experience, A, speaking on a panel, and B, what you saw at DC. Hit it.
Before I begin, I want to thank Ian Hoodrat. Him and his lovely wife were very gracious to me. They let me into their home. I spent the night there, and they couldn't have been more welcoming and more gracious. Ian, love you, brother. Thank you so much, and the whole crew. Ephraim, Passpoint, what's Comic Book Crackhead, and all that. That's his handle. Anyway, let's get into my recap here. If you've never gone before, it's completely overwhelming. It's very overwhelming. It's a huge venue. All the big names are there. And so, take your time, pace yourself, because there's so many things to see. One thing I didn't do as much as I wanted to, and Ian told me to do this, and go to those panels. By the way, if you go there, bring a lot of money. I was on a budget, so you're not going to find much deals. You got to dig. We'll talk about that later on. But one panel I did go on to was the DC panel. And it was a very long line, took about a half hour to get in there. And my cynicism of DC of late, and it's starting to soften. But especially that particular panel, they were talking about the upcoming titles of what's going to happen in the DC comic world starting later on this year. So, Jeff, do you have those pictures of I sent you?
I sure do.
Okay, let's bring one of them up here. This is the main thing that they wanted to talk about. This is being spearheaded by Chip Zdarsky. And he is behind this whole thing. And basically what this is called Absolute Power. And there's going to be a number of crossovers over the many, many months regarding this particular storyline. Basically, Amanda Waller, as you can see here, is very prominent on that cover here. She literally takes over the DC universe, the microverse, the multiverse, everything. They didn't explain how she does it. But again, she's a mere mortal, but somehow she's able to gain control of all this. And what in so doing, basically, all the superheroes lose their power, and they have to move forward without their power, and they have to make some very, very difficult decisions, because usually their power saved them, and not this time. And for the first time in a long time, and Chris, you had asked me this when I was on your show for the first time on the canon, long time, 3 years ago. You asked me, what do I think of the new comics? And a few, were okay. This whole series, the way they presented it, has really got my attention. I'm going to my LCS tomorrow to see when these are going to come out. I love the storyline. I like what they're trying to do with this. This has grabbed me. And as an old collector and as a very seasoned collector who's very cynical about this and that, and I grew up in the Stan Lee era, for this group to gain my attention, I think that says a lot. I think we have a lot to look forward to. And they've changed a few things. They've just kind of not gone wild, but they let their imagination go. So, Jeff, let's go to the next ash can that I picked up, because I picked up that first issue. It's right here. So that's cool to get if you can find this. And let's go to the next one, Jeff. That one there. That is Absolute Batman. So this the title Absolute and Absolute Power is going to be throughout this whole run that they're going to do. They didn't say how long it's going to be. I'm assuming the better part of 2024 into 2025. But that is a 7-foot, God, almost like 300-pound, buffed up Batman. He does nothing but weights and works on his personal strength. And he's more of a badass than anything else. And someone else that no one would have ever expected to be a ruthless badass is Alfred. Alfred he's a mature, but also almost like a Punisher type, regarding how ruthless this guy is. I mean, these guys they're not fooling around. And so again, these are the kind of things that, again, have grabbed my attention, out of the box thinking. And these are the kind of things that if DC goes down this road, I think they will once again be a competitor with Marvel.
That's good to hear. This line intrigues all of us. I think we talked about earlier in the week, but our last week, it was almost I thought we were relating this to Ultimate, Marvel's Ultimate line. This Absolute line sounds like it could be a little bit different in that respect from what you're saying. I don't know if anybody else has heard anything on this.
My guess is that it's sort of the idea is a bit of an offshoot. I don't think they stole from the Loki show, but you see it in the Loki show. This human, this mortal, and he shocks Loki when he says, to Kang, you're just a man, you're just a mortal. How did you gain so much power? They never did explain how he gained absolute power over everything. And I would be fascinated to see how Amanda Waller gains literally control over everything.
Yeah, that's going to be interesting to see. I don't know if anybody else here has thoughts on that.
And this awkward silence is about to.
I was just about to say, I just jumped in. But Dan, tell us real quick about your overall experience being a panelist at San Diego Comic-Con.
It was surreal. I mean, thanks to Ian for inviting me down there and sitting, watching a panel. I'm very comfortable speaking in public. It wasn't a big deal, and we'll probably do this again next year. But for the people that came,
first of all, can we see your nameplate, please?
Oh yeah, this is cool to have. This is a capper to be sitting on a panel, and you're part of the Comic-Con. It's a huge honor. And what we were talking about was how to, do your own YouTube channel and that sort of thing. So I talked about my experience of being a public speaker, having a voice in radio. I've been a personality and that sort of thing. But, overall, people were just very, very nice. I mean, there was no shoving, no pushing, no arguments. Everyone was very respectful for the most part. All the big names were there, like Metropolis Comics. I mean, I saw for the first time in person a Captain America 1, a Batman 1, some deep golden age. I took some pictures and all that. And I did represent, I represented journals. I'm not wearing my journal shirt because it's
You did have that on. That was dope.
I did. So, Chris, when you get a second, I posted something, or I sent something to you on IGs when you take a peek. I thought you'd appreciate it. But it was a fantastic experience. And again, thank you so much for Hood Rat, who's sort of my tour guide, if you will. And I'm certain I will be there next year. And I'll be a seasoned veteran by this point because there's so many things to see, so many things to do. 4 days kind of isn't enough. I was only there 2 days.
Oh my God. Yeah, no, it's massive. San Diego Comic-Con, if you're a fan, a diehard fan, you should go at least once. Me, I don't really need to go again unless Dan's speaking in Hall H, of course. But I encourage everybody who has an opportunity to do it at least once because you'll never see something like a gathering of so many different types of fans for so many different types of things. I know it's grown out of comics because it started in a hotel as comics. There's a lot of hate for that, but it's become something that's essential to the characters that we love, the properties that we love, the companies that we root for. Yeah. So I would definitely have to encourage you all to do that. All right. Thank you for that recap. Honorable Dan De La Torre. We are moving on to more news from San Diego Comic-Con. We didn't cover all the news. We only have, our show is only so long here. We have families to get back to, responsibilities, and but we're here to deliver what you paid for. Joshua.
So we're going to talk about another comic series from Marvel, something that I'm kind of excited for, and it definitely gets you thinking about possible MCU future. So a 5-issue TVA comic series is in the works from the writer of Katharina Blair. and artist Pero Piez. The series follows a band of universe-displaced heroes, including Spider-Gwen and Captain Carter, who must monitor and regulate all timelines for the TVA. I don't know about you guys, but I'm excited to check this out. I actually like Captain Carter, and I would love to see her make a, return back to the MCU. But this definitely gets you thinking about things and wondering where this takes place. So I think it's interesting to see what's going to happen.
Now, remember, Kevin Feige's in the same position as James Gunn is. James Gunn doesn't oversee the comic books. So what I was trying to say was Feige oversees the comic books. Think about that. And with the multiverse going on right now, maybe these comic books are all playing into that as well. I'd love to hear Chris's thought on that in terms of how they're bringing the TVA to comic books and how that could be something that relates to the Loki show and other properties that has the TVA in it.
Yeah, man, we all know that not just Marvel, DC, the big two, it's been a challenge to figure out who and what their audience is and wants these days. And I know we talked about a lot in the past on the show about how we saw during the 2010s, 2010 to 2020, that the whole, Infinity War era of the MCU, where the comic books would just, oh, look, they did it in the MCU. Let's rehash it in the comics. And that didn't really work too well. And we talked recently, probably in the last couple of years, since Feige took control of the comic side of things, to where I think we saw a little kind of the opposite of that, where we started seeing things to be introduced into the comic books. And then we started seeing them play out in the MCU. So to kind of like how this was introduced, and with Kevin on both ends of things, I really think when you want to talk about like who is our audience, because first off, I think it goes to the stories. And I think what Dan was saying about those DC properties is something that DC is probably trying to do, where it's like the whole superhero fatigue thing. I don't necessarily think it's a superhero fatigue. It's the fatigue of nothing being fresh and new anymore, and just getting the same old. It's like, how many times can we see a superhero with superpowers fight a villain, and what's the whole beginning to end of that? It's so mundane at this point. I think a great way for Marvel comic books to really start up in their sales is to now take the MCU as it is and tie it in simultaneously. Let's not have one copy of the other. Although I will say this, the MCU still has so much great material to pull from, and they need to stick with that. They can't stray from that. They cannot stray from that. But at the same time, because you got to realize, comic books essentially are dying out with the new generation in terms of percentage of readership. All right. But what's essentially growing with the new generation is the live action and film and the Marvel Studios, et cetera. So how do you bring those back in? That's what I think they need to do. And they need to simultaneously tend to the, us, and the young generation at the same time, to pull them back into comics in the same way. And I know I'll end on this note. I'm not sitting here saying that hasn't worked in the past, because I saw my kids do it. I saw my kids go into the movies and see Homecoming and come out of that movie and want to go to the comic book store, or me as the old head when we saw Thanos for the first time at the end of Avengers. Like, I wanted to go pick up my Secret Wars books or Infinity Gauntlet book, and I went and bought the trade paperback because I wanted to read it again. So it's been there, but we know that we live in the age of social media where everything is under a microscope. There's always going to be people not happy about something, but they really have to, in my humble opinion, keep things fresh and keep a good balance of knowing the different audience groups and be able to build something that's cohesive and fresh with the comic books and the MCU.
That was well said, because again, it comes down to dollars and cents. And if you're trying to integrate them a little bit closer, you're going to have people that kind of want that stuff. And you seeing it firsthand with your kids is so powerful. I feel like you, out of all of us, probably have more of a connection to seeing that happen. My daughter's, she's dabbled in comics a little bit. She may stray back. I don't know. But I just love hearing that. And I know they're almost, well, one's going to college age, right? Like he's graduating high school soon. So it's just interesting to see. I don't know. I want to hear from all you fellow Ken crew.
Yeah. So, I mean, the big thing that comes to mind with this is that, like, they can't make it so that you need to read the comics in order to understand the movie, because there is going to be some percentage that won't do that, because now it's very obvious, because
I think a big percentage.
These movies are making, hundreds of millions, if not billions of dollars, and comic book sales are not that high. So clearly people are not doing that currently. But I think that integrating them a little bit more in a way that is not absolutely necessary is a great way to get more people into comic shops, especially if they see a movie and really like it, and they hear, whether it's online or from a friend who reads comics, like, oh yeah, you should check out this, miniseries that's coming out, because it's going to give a little bit more background on this character. And this is really cool. The TVA, they've obviously been in the comics since the 80s, but they've never really played like a massive, they're certainly not A-list characters, an A-list organization or anything like that. I would call them D-list probably prior to Loki season 1. That being said, this is a really cool way. The fact that they have, this team of fairly popular superheroes. If you look at the cover of this, the book, so people who are fans of those heroes might jump in. People who watch Loki might jump in. People who just want to read something that ties into, the MCU, the multiverse saga, what's going on now. So it's, a great opportunity. And the fact that it's a 5-issue miniseries is perfect, in my opinion, because people know, okay, I just got to buy 5 books, spend, $20, $30, whatever it may be. I'm not like locking myself in for, collecting this whole run, hitting the comic book store up every week for a year. So I think that's perfect. And specifically the cover of this book is really awesome. And I love the fact that there are other Minutes characters. Like, it looks like there's a Mr. Minutes there, maybe a Baby Minutes on the bottom.
Yeah, it's definitely
I didn't notice that.
Yeah, it's kind of cool. Very, very cool with this, like, this cubic shape right here too. So yeah, I'm excited for this.
Josh, you've said so as well. Dan, what are your thoughts?
I said, since you guys have known me, that the foundation from Marvel is right behind me. And when Stan Lee, Kirby, the bullpen took over and they started doing what they're doing, the Silver and Bronze Age dominated DC. Something at the time was thought impossible. DC was a powerhouse, thought never to be brought down again. I mention that because even the writers of today need to build off this timeline here. It's, again, like the TVA has shown us, timelines branch off into infinite storylines, infinite possibilities, but it all starts here. And if they were to do that, in not just the comics, but in the movies, I think they'd have incredible success. Now, again, having not seen the Deadpool movie, I'm assuming it does branch off with the TVA. All the movies, literally all the movies, need to have some sort of tie-in from its foundation. When you build any structure, if you don't have a foundation, everything collapses and it falls down. As some of the movies, like The Marvels, which is kind of a fun movie, but not well connected. And what was it, Madam Web? Again, people who had no idea what they were writing about, didn't understand, probably have never picked up a comic book. That's doomed to failure. It's absolutely doomed to failure because, again, they're not building off of their success. This foundation can last for decades, long after we're gone. That's how deep of rich of history they have to work with. So that's my ultimate recommendation. Yeah, you can come up with new ideas, but as long as it dovetails perfectly, because that's what they did in the Silver Bronze Age, and it worked. So if the old saying, if it isn't broken, don't fix it. Guys, keep going. You were given a path long ago. Just keep following it, and you will have great success.
But something Chris and I spoke about too is it always has to evolve, though, right?
Yes, absolutely.
If it ain't broke, don't
Absolutely.
fix it. Sure, yes, but it always has to evolve. So,
Oh, I
Yeah.
agree. I agree.
I want to add too. I think with Dan, your two examples, I think the Madam Web thing is more of a the issue of Sony wanting to do movies without Spider-Man, and that just sucks. So I think that hinders on a business transaction that just sucks. Whereas the Marvels, you don't have, oh, well, let's use these characters and make money off them just because we own the rights. But I think that the interesting thing, I just was thinking about this as you were saying, I really do think it comes down to perspective, because personally, I can detach. When I watch these movies, I can detach. But I'm also meaning I can detach from the comic books. I'm also from the era to where I want to go into these, like I said, again, the Infinity War, the Infinity Saga, the Sam Raimi Spider-Man movies. It's like I watched those thinking I was like reading the books again, and it brought me back to the books. But for Miss Marvel, I mean, I never really read anything about Kamala Khan or any of her stuff. I was never even into her character in the comics. But when I watched the TV show, I love that. I thoroughly enjoyed the TV show. And honestly, I thoroughly enjoyed the Marvels movie. It was funny. It was over the top. It was different. And to me, I took it how it was. I felt like I was watching a little kids movie for little girls or something like that, right? So my thought going into hearing you speak is like, because I think it all boils down to perception. I think there's a lot of comic book fans that didn't grow up with Kamala Khan or Miss Marvel, and they just don't care about watching the movie. So if they do see it, or before they see it, as we know happens, and they want an opinion on it, they say, oh, that's trash, it's garbage, we didn't ask for that. And maybe that's just them saying, well, I like chocolate ice cream and I don't care about sherbet. I've never eaten sherbet in my life, but there's going to be people out there that eat sherbet. But I think an interesting thing to your point, Dan, is that I think it's very hard too, because you have the stipulation of this is a comic book movie. How do you I think Marvel wanted to get this young generation and young girls, whatever, into watch Miss Marvel, and it didn't work because they're not interested in seeing a superhero movie. They'd rather go see Barbie. So you see, so it's like kind of like this stigma that sits in everyone's head before they even get to getting in the chair and watching the movie. But I think that's a very fair point that you bring up. But I think back to going what Jeff was saying, how do we balance that out? How do we continue to grow the audience and get different sub audiences to watch these movies and bring in different characters while still staying true to the core material?
So, Chris, you had watched the Marvels and Madam Web both?
Yes.
Okay, let me ask you something. So they were entertaining.
Real quick, I'm going to interrupt. I just want to bring this point wrong.
Yeah, I think we need to address this comment here.
Comic heads don't care about the Marvels or Kamala. These are C-list characters. I'm not sure. I don't know if you have factual information where there were exit polls taken out of these films, or you've done random surveys at comic shops all over the country, and I would love to see the data. However, you can't say this because everybody on here, Josh, I don't know about you, but
I disagree. I have my own thing I want to say, but I disagree with the statement completely.
Yeah, I love Miss Marvel. I love the character. The Marvels just didn't feel like a cohesive film to me, but I loved all three characters together. So yeah, I care about them.
The Marvels was not a good movie because of the villain, but the character of Kamala Khan specifically is immensely popular. At my LCS, it's one of the best selling books, and everyone that I know that works at the LCS really likes Kamala Khan. And I think that specifically the MCU version played by Iman Vellani is the best thing to come out since Endgame. I think that her character is the best character introduced. And that's coming from a guy who really likes Moon Knight, and he was introduced. And what other character? I love the Shang-Chi movie the first one.
Yeah.
And I still think Kamala Khan is the best thing to come out since Endgame.
Well,
Yeah.
but even back in the Bronze Age, when I was growing up and buying comics, I didn't buy every comic. Not every character appealed to me. I mean, I'd see him in a crossover or whatever, and I didn't hate the character. I just didn't buy them. And there's nothing wrong with that, whether it was a B character or a C character, whatever, but they were still part of the Marvel Universe. And back to my question to you, Chris, was there any tie-in, even a small tie-in to either one of those movies to the main core of the MCU?
So putting comic books aside and just if tying it to the MCU, I think that's another issue that we as fans have created in our head. Like, why does everything have to have a hint or a post-credit scene that ties into something that we've seen before? That to me, although it's fun, and remember, it was very simplified for the first 11, 12 years, because it was the Infinity Saga around the Avengers, and here Thanos is coming. So it was a lot easier to streamline that cohesiveness. Now, it's like, imagine going to a comic book shop and, like, my favorite, just like you said, Dan, you only read the characters that appealed to you. So what if I had to read, and I remember they used to do this when they would do the Inferno or the stuff, like, all the little tie-ins. Oh, you have to go over and read freaking this character. It's like, if I'm reading a Spider-Man comic and they introduce this new villain, or Hobgoblin's back, or somebody's back, and there's this great story arc, John Romita is back on the art, and I'm loving it, and I'm reading this, and I got to go pick up a, Squirrel Girl comic to find out what's going to happen next, because the Squirrel Girl comic tied into it's like, I don't need that. So people that are really diehard about, like, oh, well, what's going on what's going on with Moon Knight? Well, I don't need to watch Kamala Khan and what she's doing, or if I care about Kamala Khan, I don't need to watch She-Hulk or something like that. So Miss Marvel in the Marvels, those films didn't need to have any ties to anything that I saw before other than Captain Marvel, because obviously it continued her story arc. Now, going to Madam Web, that is a bit different, because, again, you're trying to play with characters where they're all based around a character that, you're letting Marvel Studios have their handle with, and he's very much embedded in that universe. And it's like, okay, so I definitely feel it there. It's like, why do I even care about seeing these characters without Spider-Man or without it connecting to something? But I don't know. I think, again, it's kind of like, it's something that we should not take for granted, and that we should be excited that we have something that can connect, and we get Easter eggs, and we get little hints of what's going to come in the next Avengers movie or whatever. But I think we have forgotten how to just go and sit in front of a screen for an hour and 50 minutes, 2 hours and 15 minutes, and just watch that film and enjoy it for what it is.
That's a fair point.
So funny, man, because I'm just realizing you're pulling me back right now, because we do take this for granted at this point. Before 2008, this has never happened. Never happened.
You'd only get like one movie a year, then you'd have to wait a year or two for it to pay off if there was any.
Well, I'm just saying, even like comic book films in general, there was no cohesion here, and we take all of this stuff for granted. It's very hard to do. Marvel was on a hot streak for so long. It's unprecedented for what they do. Hopefully DC will figure out a formula for that. But again, I think we do take this a little bit for granted with that. We have to get moving on here, because we still have a lot to talk about, which is great because again, it's Comic-Con weekend. Joshua, news editor of The Canon. What do we have next?
So I don't know if we have any fans of The Boys here. I'm definitely a fan. I finished the last season a week or two ago. Loved it. And they've already talked about doing spinoffs. And yeah, so we're getting a prequel series, which is in the works. Soldier Boy, a.k.a. Jensen Ackles, will be returning, along with Ayla Cash, who was Stormfront in season 2 and 3. And it's going to be a series that follows a twisted murder mystery about the origins of Vault in the 1950s. We'll learn about the early days of Soldier Boy, and we're also going to we'll get more backstory on Stormfront. Now, my only head-scratching thing is nobody likes Stormfront. She is a Nazi, so I don't know how this is going to play out unless they're going to have Soldier Boy go against her, because he's like the Captain America of the boys, but it's kind of ambitious. I'm going to watch it, of course. I love the boys, but yeah, it's definitely interesting to see how this show is going to play out.
If I'm not mistaken, the point of Stormfront is she's just vile, right? Everybody hates her.
Just the worst.
She's
so
like,
that's the point. Like, so maybe it's going to be interesting to see how she became this, right?
I guess we're going to have to see. I mean, as far as I know from the show, from the backstory they kind of gave us, she did some, again, pretty bad stuff, and then she disappeared for a long time. I'm assuming the story is going to be where Soldier Boy is going to be up against her probably, but we'll have to see. I hope so, because I don't think like a Soldier Boy show, all up for it, a prequel, learning about him. But when you're starting to talk about Stormfront and her ways, I'm just not interested in that.
You're less interested. That's interesting.
You gotta have a character to hate, True. Whether it's a villain or an entity or the evil alien army coming from a different dimension and Avengers, whatever it may be. You gotta have someone to hate. She's kind of the perfect character.
For sure. I don't know if anybody else has any thoughts on the Boys prequel. They already have Gen V.
Gen
V, I think it's coming back for another season. And
season 2, Gen V next year. And then we're going to have to wait to 2026 for the final season of The Boys currently, which I'm not looking forward to because the cliffhanger on the end of the show was freaking amazing. And I kind of want to know now what happened right away.
I haven't watched any of this season.
Shame on you and shame on Joe and anybody else who hasn't watched it. Joe's only on episode 3 of season 1 right now or something like that.
Episode 4 of season 1.
Not me. Anyways, all right. Now we're getting into the meat of stuff. The Hall H Marvel presentation. Everybody was hyped. We are in our stretch run right now for this news from San Diego Comic-Con 2024. Josh.
Yeah.
Come on. Bring us home.
First, I just want to say, man, my sources were off. There's supposed to be a lot more things going on this year. Looks like Marvel switched it up. So we'll see what happens at D23 in a couple months. But they talked about 3 films. They showed more of Captain America, Brave New World. I'm not gonna. I didn't put that on the news because it's pretty much the same stuff that we've already known. But Fantastic Four was.
Wait, Giancarlo is Sidewinder.
Yeah.
Not George Washington Bridge.
Yeah. So if you have X-Force #1 that you've been selling for like $3,000, you can put it back in the dollar bins, and you probably couldn't have bought that book. But hey, that's part of the game, I guess.
Yeah.
But we've got some. I will mention though, Harrison Ford did do a hilarious impression of the Red Hawk on the stage. I don't know if you guys saw that.
Yeah.
God bless that man. Like 95 years old. But so moving on, Fantastic Four. I am so excited for this. So we got news that the Fantastic Four starts filming in London on Tuesday, but it's also been renamed to Fantastic Four Steps. They showed off the Fantastic car. There was some footage. I guess it was test footage from what I understand. And they showed off a clip of Pedro as Reed. We got to see Johnny. We got to see Sue. And then we also got to see Ben. And Galactus actually had a little bit of a little video. If anybody saw that, it looked kind of freaked me out a bit scary the way how the video played. But I'm excited for this film. I think it's obviously going to be better than.
Oh, come on.
It's going to be better than the second 2014 version, which I never saw, but I heard that thing sucked. I do have a soft spot for the original
No,
cheap
gosh.
films, but
No.
I'm hoping that this does it justice.
It
Yeah.
has to, because
Yeah.
Fantastic Four was what started Marvel.
By the
Chris,
way, it will not be a origin story. They are also, I forgot to put it in, but it's going to be set a little bit after, so they already have their powers in the film, so we don't have to worry about them blowing up in space and then coming back and figuring things out. So.
Right, which is good because we've gotten that,
Yeah.
and you know,
it's like, yeah.
with the first two Fantastic Four movies from the early 2000s, they're PG family movies. Like, that's really what they are. They're not MCU movies, and it's very obvious they were trying to make, you know, the kind of family friendly superhero team think, you know, a almost like a live action version of The Incredibles. You know, it was goofy, it was silly. You know, it did have some deep parts and stuff to it, but nothing too complex. So this is their first chance to really do, you know, a more adult, you know, PG-13 version of the Fantastic Four. I have high hopes. I love that it's set in the 1960s. That is certainly my favorite announcement that they've made. I can't wait to see this movie.
I'm very excited. Chris, your thoughts?
Yeah, this is one where I do have expectations. You know, I try to not have expectations, but just like you were saying, Jeff, this is what started Marvel. I like that it's in the 60s. I like that it's not origin story. First Steps, I don't know, it seems kind of a little bit of a silly title. It's not like, it doesn't pull me in. I mean, even this whole thing right here, it kind of reminds me of WandaVision, which was a great show, and that's fine. But I think this should be more than that, and I don't want it to be campy and funny. Like that's one thing too, that again, like the right humor at the right time. But I think Marvel, and for the right characters, like obviously Deadpool or even Kamala Khan, you know, it's great when it's funny, but this needs to have a serious tone still too, in my humble opinion.
I do think that that's what they're going to go for. I love the cast that they picked for this. I don't see any kind of like quirky, goofy stuff going on. I can't wait to see what Ben Grimm looks like. I can't wait to, you know.
I just want to.
He can't look worse than he has already. Let's be
for
real.
sure.
I just want to say, First Steps might be a hint at some other characters that have not been announced yet.
Josh knows things that he does not want to say right now.
So just keep that in mind.
I like that. Dan, we haven't even heard from you. We know that you have love for the Fantastic Four and all things Silver Age. Talk to us.
I do, and I'm with Chris. I want more of a serious, down-to-earth, kind of Avengers type, you know, caliber a movie here, because it's the first family. It's the first. That's where Stanley started. Stanley and Kirby. So now bring up the logo again, if you don't mind.
Sure thing.
That kind of reminds me as a parent, something you'd see for your first child, you know, the first steps, and then the Marvel kind of, you know, that's something a kid, a toddler would appreciate. But I think Josh is onto something. Josh, do you want me to say who it is?
No.
No. Listen, listen. We might get into rumors in a few weeks, but for right now, it's strictly news. I think First Steps. I think you can probably guess.
You couldn't be more frank about that comment, Josh. You couldn't. That's my cheap little intro. Anyway, as far as the movie, it's like the Deadpool. And again, I do say they could have screwed up the Deadpool movie. That's that they didn't, though. But even though I haven't seen it, they could have been a bomb.
Sure.
That just ask anybody about Iron Man 3. That was a horrible movie towards the end. But apparently they nailed it. They're going to have to nail this one because of the prominence of the Fantastic Four. And so I think they're on the right track here. The big curiosity is the 60s tie-in. Why they're going to do this with the 60s? Because it was more of an innocent time. It was a very different time. I mean, I vaguely remember the 60s as a child. People were very, very different. And that could be a blessing or a curse regarding any humor or anything they interact with today, because that was a long time ago. The world was different. So we'll see how that all changes. But I think, and we'll talk about with the person that's showing up here. Hey, is that from Chris? Is that from the Marvels movie?
It's my Flurkin.
Flurkin, yeah, there you go. There you go. There you go. There's a cameo right there.
He only looks sweet.
No, but they have, again, the pressure's on them, but I think with the news you're about to bring up here, I think they are going to nail it. I have high hopes and confidence that they will.
For sure, because the news gets even more interesting as we move forward. And by the way, Nukes, yes, there are opportunities to address civil rights issues and things like that, for sure. And they may, who knows? Again, I think there will be a more serious tone with this take on the Fantastic Four. I think, again, it's interesting. It's set in the 60s. It's another from another part of the universe, or another timeline, and hopefully they integrate all into one, leading up to a certain film that comes out in 2027, I believe. But we're going to get into that in a hot second. Okay, we're getting way too ahead of ourselves. Joshua.
So I gotta say, we dropped the ball. Thunderbolts had a bit of a panel, and I kind of forgot to put Thunderbolts news on there. It's really nothing to talk about. It's just a ripoff of the Suicide Squad. So we're gonna move on from Thunderbolts.
Nori Jordan is in the room right now.
I haven't seen him. I don't think he's here. I don't see his name.
Listen, even if he's not, as soon as he hears this, he's driving from Vermont or wherever he lives. New Hampshire.
Maybe we'll talk a little bit next week, but yeah, so we're gonna skip past Thunderbolts. Nobody's even excited or happy to see that film. So let's just skip on past. Let's talk about some Avengers news, gentlemen. Okay. Probably, which is the second biggest announcement of yesterday. Something that actually, these are two things I can hold against you. Two things that I said might happen.
Let's address that when we're done with the news.
Russo brothers are returning to direct both Avengers 5 and Avengers Secret Wars. And Stephen McFeely will be writing Avengers 5 and Secret Wars. He co-wrote Endgame and Infinity War as well.
That's huge news. Let's pause right there. Oh, go ahead. You finish your thought, but let's pause on the Russos. And
I'm Paul. So thank you. I just want to say, man, there's a lot of, I know people are saying, well, could have went with different people, this and that. They gave us 4 of the best MCU films I feel like we've ever had so far. So you know what? They know how to work with big casts. They know how to make characters get the spotlight and shine. They know action. They know comedy. They know heart-filled moments, stuff that gets you emotional. So I'm just thrilled for this. And this is what I wanted years ago when we knew more Avenger films eventually going to happen. I wanted them to come back, and I think Marvel did the right call. So,
yeah, I mean, I said this last week or 2 weeks ago, whenever we talked about this. In my opinion, Captain America Winter Soldier and Captain America Civil War are the 2 best MCU movies, hands down. The vast majority of people will disagree with me and say Infinity War and Endgame. It doesn't matter if you're on my side or their side. If you agree with one of those 4 movies as being the best MCU movie, those are all 4 Russo brother movies. You can't go wrong. They've done. I said it before. Whatever amount of money that they want, give it to them, because they're gonna put out gold. I can't imagine a bad movie coming out of the MCU from them, given the talent that they have as individuals and the talent the rest of the MCU has. So I'm just beyond excited that this announcement was made, because I think it's going to restore faith in a lot of the naysayers, because I've enjoyed a lot of the stuff post Endgame, but there are in fact quite a bit of naysayers that have skipped movies, sometimes even I've heard the last movie I saw was Endgame. Oh, okay. Hopefully it will turn some people around and at least get some new eyes as well in the MCU.
For sure. I want to hear Chris's take on this, because I know you got thoughts.
Yeah, man. They know how to do their thing. Winter Soldier. It's really hard at this point. There's been so many movies for me to even have I will still put Iron Man #1 as the number one MCU movie of all time because of both. One, I mean, it is one of the best, and two, without it, there's nothing after. So you remove it, it's like playing Django, and everything falls down. But I have no problem with this. I'm excited about it. The one thing that I want to point out too, while Winter Soldier is probably my number two, what they did with Infinity War and Endgame by bringing in Guardians of the Galaxy, which was already their own franchise, with James Gunn, doing James Gunn, right? You had Spider-Man and his, I mean, even though they had very minor roles, but, you know, they showed up in Infinity War, and you brought the tone of Spider-Man, Tom Holland's Spider-Man into it. We saw all these other franchises, Black Panther, for what Ryan Coogler had done with that character. But of course, he was introduced with the Russo brothers. So, but I think the Russo brothers have a good understanding. You know, they have a tone. If you watched, 21 Bridges, another film they did. I know there's a film, man. Yeah, but what got them started? Wasn't it like a
Parks and Rec? It was a comedy on
NBC. Comedy. They are so good. I mean, they love their tone of that realism, that action. Their action sequences, they're some of the best I've ever seen in my life. But they are able to really paint the Marvel Cinematic Universe and bring in all these different characters and allow them to still have their own personalities and tones to where they can come together on top of having an amazing storyline to pull it all together. So I think that it's the best thing, in my humble opinion, for the next Avengers movie. And then I don't know what's going to happen with Secret Wars, but I would like them to be involved in some way.
No, they're directing both.
Oh, they did. Okay, good.
Yeah.
My bad.
Also, we need to correct it. It wasn't Parks and Rec. It was Arrested Development and Community were the two shows.
Community, I'm sorry, not Parks. Yes, my bad.
All good.
I also want to mention one other thing too. Going forward, as of right now, since they locked in as directors, they're actually going to be taking a hands-on approach with every film and show that's coming out from now up until the Avengers films, because they want to start lining stuff up. So this is going to be like, this is going back to pre-Endgame, post or before Endgame. So I feel like, I know MCU's back, MCU's dead, but I think the next couple of years, man, we are going to be in for a real treat. It's going to be amazing. So,
Dan, I need your thoughts before I give mine.
With Stanley and the bullpen, I always refer to them. They are the all-stars and they are the Hall of Famers. I'm a baseball guy. I'd love to go to Cooperstown and see the great names and the great talent that Major League had. Marvel had it with all those. It would take quite a while to name all those people. We're having history repeat itself because now we're seeing that with the MCU and their talented bullpen. You've got the Russo brothers. You got Jon Favreau. You've got who was it? Joss Whedon, who did the first Avengers movie. He kind of burned some bridges. There are several others. They're loaded with talent, and that's why we sort of expect so much from them because of this talent and their proven talent. And when they get into troubles, when they get to people, they pick new people who, again, not connected to the comic world. Some, I dare say, probably never read a comic. But again, Marvel has the MCU has such a talented bullpen. Again, it's fun to see. They're young people. Jon Favreau, what is he? He's 57. He's still a young man, can still produce. So again, just enjoy the ride while we can. We're seeing the Silver Age all over again on the silver screen.
Dan, that's a really good way to put it. Look, I'm happy that they're on board. I feel like they're going to right the ship. There was a revolving door of directors and writers for the next two Avengers films, and there was some problems there, obviously. Not seeing eye to eye creatively, not liking the direction, whatever it may be. These guys bring with them the experience, the knowledge, and the know-how to be able to balance an ensemble as crazy as these two films may be. Josh, what is it? 60 to 80 characters they may have?
Well, that's rumored for Avengers 5, but we're talking like, I've heard over 150 plus characters for Secret Wars, which I think might even be split up to two films. But yeah, it's going to be, it's going to be
insane. Like to think about being able to bring something like that together, and you would want to have give your $100,000 car, let's just say, for example, to an experienced driver, right? You're not going to lend it to, I'm
not going to give it to you, Jeff. I'll give it to Joe.
Well, I have experience, but I'm not responsible. But that being said, there's a little part of me, guys. There's a little part of me that wanted to see somebody do something new and different. I know we're in good hands. I'm excited to see what we're going to get. It's going to be great. I know it will be great. I just a little piece of me wants to see other people get opportunities. That's all I'm saying.
That's fair.
I think I do agree that you got to mix things up, but there's also just having those what's the term?
Synergy.
Not the synergy, the big crossover movies, essentially the movies that tie things together. Those first two Captain America movies, all the Avengers were in those movies other than Thor and Hulk. And obviously Infinity War and Endgame tied everything together. We can give those to the Russo brothers because they do so well at it, and the other movies can be by other people.
True. And they're overseeing all. They're probably like executive producers on everything else moving forward. So now, it's a. Go ahead.
All I was going to say is, I think it is very important. We talked about this earlier. The next generation of viewers and watchers, and I just got some information that we have some young viewers out there that are watching this show right now. The next generation of comic book fans, superhero fans. So shout out to Jaden and Aurora, who are 9 and 6, I believe, who are watching Comic Book Canon right now. That's awesome. That's
great. Loving that. The young Canon crew. And they're coming just in time here, everybody, because we're moving on from the Russos stepping back in, and we're gonna get. Let's just talk about the title of the next film first, and then obviously where we're going from there.
All right. So not only did the Russo brothers come out, announce that they're directing Avengers 5, Secret Wars, they're back, they gave us an official title for Avengers 5. It is now going to be titled Avengers Doomsday. Now, I don't know what exactly Doomsday means. As far as I know, Doomsday is a DC character. So maybe Superman might show up in this film as well. But I'm starting to wonder, who could possibly play Doomsday? Do you guys have... I mean, I know he's like a big monster, spikes popping out, and he's got...
Who could that be? You'd have to have somebody with gravitas. Obviously, if it's Doomsday from the DC universe, somebody who's just brings it, right?
How about Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson? Hear me out.
I love it. It has to be that. Well, how about this? How about we watch it exactly how it happened in Hall H? Ian from Hood Rat Comics was there. This is his footage. Let's check it out, shall we?
Let's do it.
I can find it. There we go. Here we go.
That Marvel is not introduced yet.
Dude, let's go.
And it could be.
Let's go.
The most important character in all of the Marvel universe.
Oh, you already know. Come on, bring him! Bring him! Bring him! Let's go.
Wait for it.
Let's go. It's green, baby. It's all green. Two brothers, let's go! Two brothers! Let's go!
Now, listen, if we're going to bring Victor Von Doom to the screen, and he's one of the more complex characters in all of comics, right, Kevin? I mean, this is potentially one of the more entertaining characters in all of fiction. If we're going to do this, if we're going to bring him to movie theaters worldwide, then I think we're going to need the greatest actor in the world.
Tom Cruise.
To play that character. Okay.
Tom Cruise.
Ladies and gentlemen, as proof of the unimaginable possibilities in the Marvel multi-universe, we give you the one person who could play Victor Von Doom.
No way. Oh, let's go!
New mask.
What the fuck? What?
Same task.
What? No!
What did I tell you? I like playing complicated characters.
No! Oh, no. No.
Wow. All right. Like Robert. Like Robert said, new mask, same task, and the task for all of us, including everybody in this room together, is for us to help create the greatest possible experience that we can all have together in a movie theater. So let's get to it. Bring your imagination, your love, and your passion, and we will see you in 2 years.
What are we doing? Yeah! What are we doing here? What the fuck?
That's incredible. What a moment. What a moment. Like, just imagine being there. I mean, I'm sure it was worth it for him to be in that car for 2 days in line for Hall H. Unbelievable. I need thoughts from all you guys.
I'll be the first to say it. I was wrong. I said when Josh brought this up, I was like, I even said beforehand, I said, Josh, do we really want to put this in the news? This is obviously just fake. It's clickbait. There's no way Robert Downey Jr. is going to come back as Doom. It doesn't make any sense. Why would this happen? Blah, 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 blah. But despite being such a naysayer, first of all, like I said, I'll admit I'm wrong here. I was totally off base. I also want to say that I'm excited about this because obviously this is not, him taking on the role and continuing the role for the next, decade, 15 years, whatever, however long. This is clearly like a multiverse version. I think we all can agree that this is not going to be the Doctor Doom going forward. This is going to be a variant of Doctor Doom. And Robert Downey Jr., not only is he a phenomenal actor, as we've seen, not only does he understand these complex comic book characters, like you said, loves to play complex characters, and not only does he have a relationship with the Russo brothers and Kevin Feige, and like obviously for 15 years not quite, I guess he was in the MCU for 13 years. He had a working relationship with these people, and we know that they'll do well together. But in addition to that, just the fact that he is going to be like a Tony Doctor Doom is going to be such an opportunity to pull on heartstrings and work that emotion of these characters that knew Tony in real life and had been, through it with him and had been to his funeral and said goodbye to him and all that stuff. Seeing him again in a very, very different form, I think that's going to really add another layer to these upcoming movies. So I'm all for it.
Who's got more thoughts? I know we all do. Come on, Chris. You got it. Let's go.
All right. So I was going to save myself for last, but I will say, Joe, we don't know that this is a Tony Stark variant that just happens to be a Doctor Doom, because what did the Russo brothers say? Who else do we want to bring in to play Victor Von, or if we bring Victor Von Doom? Now, of course, this is the thing. We don't know really anything yet, but
you sure about that?
This very well could be a Tony. What's that?
Sure about that? I might have. You know, what? Everybody finish up. We're gonna talk after. We're gonna talk after.
Yeah. I mean, this could be a Tony Stark variant, which I wouldn't be mad at. And Joe, if that is what it is, I love what you said, and it really is gonna play on so many different emotions. Now, what do I think of Robert Downey Jr. just playing this character, whether it's a Tony Stark variant or whether it is just Victor Von Doom? I do believe that he could kill it. Cillian Murphy could have killed it. I mean, there's a couple other actors. If it's just the Doom character, maybe it will just be a, multiversal variant that we see just in the next two Avenger films, and then that's it. You would think that this would lead up into the Secret Wars, and he still would be there. Now, I just don't know, because if it is Victor Von Doom and it isn't an evil Tony variant, to me, I'm kind of disappointed, because it takes away from this being a cinematic universe and the realism that we, for the last 15, 16 years, sink our teeth into being in this reality, to where I'm not going to walk down the street and see Joe and Joe's going to be Bob tomorrow. Joe's always going to be Joe. It's like Jeff's going to be Jeff, Dan's going to be Dan. We're all, so that doesn't make sense to me. And just to do it because he could do it, or because he's going to save the MCU, like, that's not the right reasons, in my opinion. Now, do I think Feige and team are doing it because of that? I hope not. I don't know. Now, there is one thing, that if this really is Victor Von Doom and has no correlation to an evil Tony, look at Colin Farrell playing Penguin. Yeah. Did you watch that movie, and could you even tell that Colin Farrell could have played Colin Farrell in the Batman Matt Reeves universe and still play Penguin, because they could be in the same room and you wouldn't recognize them? Are they going to do that with Robert Downey Jr.? He's older. We have CGI. We have makeup. And he's such a great actor that he can act completely different, and we wouldn't even know, and I wouldn't be mad at that. Now, I do want to share a little bit about the hype on the comic books, but maybe I'll save that if we talk about that as well.
Well, we have an opportunity to talk about that later, because someone's fresh from the comic shop. Incorporated books. That might be a good time to bring that up.
I'm going to say this. For me, and I don't usually, I'm convinced here that this is the Doom from the universe of the Fantastic Four, set in the 60s. I'm convinced that this will lead to Secret Wars.
Mm-hmm.
I'm convinced. I'm convinced what Mark Lineker says. This is what I've been thinking as well. Secret Wars comes after, and will be the collapse of the multiverse and the creation of a new universe, or kind of a soft reboot, as people are saying, and timeline incorporating Fantastic Four, Avengers, X-Men, etc. And I think, while this still is a problem, that if there is a new Doom in this universe, I still think this is where they're headed. However, I find problem in that, because it's like, following Jimi Hendrix. What was that in Woodstock? The Who, I think, followed Jimi Hendrix, and it's like, how are we going to, following Robert Downey Jr.'s performance. That being said, I think Feige and team are very smart. You see that in, I'd say, 85% of the decisions that they have made in the past. Are they perfect? No. But I don't think this is trying to, oh, we need this. The MCU needs to be saved. I don't think it's like this at all. But it's not an easy go, no matter what direction they would have. That's my opinion. Dan.
I want to give Josh huge credit for this, for having the courage to post that when he did. Joe, I'm with you. When he posted that, I thought, no, that's not going to work. I don't see the connection, whatever. And we were both wrong. We were both wrong about that. Now
I wasn't. I agreed with him. I called it too.
Show off. Anyway, but here's what's going on. There's new possibilities here, a whole variety of possibilities. First, let's talk about Robert Downey Jr., the actor. Why would he take this role? I knew he would come back at some point. If the money was right, if the script was right, everything had to fall into place. Now, remember, he's an older actor. He's almost as old as I am. But that doesn't mean he's ancient, he's going to fall over and keel over tomorrow, right? So he's got a lot of life in him and a lot of theatrical life. Look at Patrick Stewart, who played Captain Picard and Professor X. He's just now winding down. He's now reached to a point. He's late 80s, and he doesn't have the pep anymore. Downey Jr. and there's many other actors in the MCU that still do. He's got a few decades if he takes care of himself. And think of all the possibilities with movies and crossovers and all the rest of it. But why would he take on this role? There's a couple of reasons that come to mind. One is that the older, experienced actor especially who's played a hero most of their life in their theatrical life, loves to switch over to a villain. Why? They're a much more interesting character. And Downey Jr. is a very smart character, very stoic character. He's very rooted. So this is a challenge for him, and he wants this challenge. You can tell. In fact, he even mentioned it on screen. But the other thing that comes to mind is that deep down, he isn't certain he can pull this off. I'm not certain he can pull this off because he's been stereotyped or typecast in a way to the Iron Man role. That's his most famous role. He has to prove to each and every one of us he's a different character. He has to get us to hate him. He has to get us to believe he is ruthless. He has a different background. That's his challenge, and he's accepting us because that's what a veteran seasoned actor does. Now, can he do it? Absolutely. He's got the chops to do it. So again, this is very, very exciting. This leads into all sorts of other possibilities because we as comic readers, you want to start rereading Avengers 25 when Dr. Doom visits the Avengers for the first time. You also want to look into Iron Man 149 and 150. Why? Dr. Doom and Iron Man fight each other. We can now see the possibility of a Downey Jr. versus a Downey Jr. armor to armor. And that was a great story, by the way. So again, go to these scripts here. So this goes in many, many possibilities. I'm hoping that they get as much out of this as possible for the next, let's say, 20 years. But this is a dynamite pick. Now, I'll end it on this. Chris, I think you said this. If it's a variant and we go to another Doctor Doom, who would that be? That's still a card that hasn't been played yet. And you brought up a few very seasoned actors. You need a seasoned actor for Doctor Doom. You have to. If you put a child behind that character, that it's going to fail. You need someone with the presence and resonance of a Robert Downey Jr. I think this is incredible and fantastic news, and we can just anticipate and salivate for some time to come.
Quite a while. It's going to be a long time before we get first looks and things like that, but it's exciting. It's exciting times. And that, by the way, Josh did call it. Joe and I poo-pooed on it, and I was supposed to play that footage to prove that. I'm actually glad we didn't get that clip because we are going late.
Yeah.
But yeah, we were both wrong. And Josh, we apologize, but we still have a lawsuit against you. So and guys,
that's harsh.
We get my opinion here, don't we?
You did give your opinion, but please give us your further opinion.
Look, Comic Book Canon is a lot like most YouTube channels. We're here to report the news, let you guys know about stuff, possible rumors. And I didn't offer. I gave you guys some great rumors. Now, at random, dispassionate, fair to rich and poor alike, they called me a madman. But what I predicted came to pass.
Oh boy,
Josh, what are you reading this from?
That's Thronos speaking to Doctor Strange in Infinity War, talking about
I can't, guys. I can't. I did want to end on this note in regards to Doom. I did want to end on this note, and Goonish brought it up. I was going to ask Josh, how much of Kang was mentioned in Hall H this year?
Yeah, so again, my sources are off. Kang was supposedly they were going to announce they cast a new actor for Kang. Kang will appear in Doomsday and Secret Wars, but he's going to, from what I understand, play in a smaller role. You know what I mean? They're going to move away from it. I got to say, though, I know everybody's talking about Robert Downey Jr. being Doom moving forward. I don't think that's the case. From what I'm understanding, he is going to be in the Fantastic Four film. He's going to be playing that version of Doom. It's a variant. And I think what's going to happen is Secret Wars, we all know how Secret Wars go. It kills off characters or gets rid of certain ones, and we're going to have a new universe. So I think we will have an official Doctor Doom moving forward in the next few years. But I do think, Robert, it's interesting, and like you guys said, it's going to be emotional for a lot of characters. The biggest thing I want to see is if Spider-Man is gonna, how his reaction is gonna be, because they've kind of kicked him down. They killed off his aunt. They killed off Tony. Happy, nobody knows who he is anymore, and so it's gonna be interesting. But I'm a bit sad that Kang's gonna kind of be put on the back burner, man. I mean, I loved, Jonathan Majors. I know that whole stuff that he did. Unfortunate, but I feel like Kang, they could have recast it at least. He's a variant. There's tons of variants. You could have had somebody. I mean, look at the bright side. At least they didn't cast Robert Downey Jr. as Kang. I mean, I'm just saying he could pull it off.
Yeah.
If you guys saw Tropic Thunder, but
I was going to say we're not going to talk about that. I
heard the biggest one I heard was Trance Howard from the original Iron Man movie. Imagine if they recast him as Kang to be the ultimate villain.
I think those bridges have been burned.
Thank you, Luker, for this great comment here. I mean, give credit to the MCU because they had basically banked on everything regarding the Kang storyline. They'd set it up for years. And when Jonathan Majors had his difficulties, and then by the way, I'm going to express my personal opinion. Most of you won't agree with it. I think because I've never ever heard someone's career being destroyed by misdemeanor charges. Felony charges, yes. Misdemeanor, no. And if he goes back to court, his lawyers are going back to court and gets those overturned, that's going to be a whole legal battle because something's very wrong here with that whole thing. Because he had a lot to offer. Is he a perfect person? No, but he's not some giant felon who killed someone. I'm sorry. That was way over the top. But regardless, don't think that he might show up at some point down the road because he's a very young man and a very talented actor. But again, give credit to the MCU because they were banking on this whole thing, and all of a sudden it blows up in their face. What do? They've turned it around in a big way. We're now very, very excited for the future of the MCU once again. So again, give credit to talent.
Yes, for sure. Again, the Jonathan Majors thing is a little bit touchy, but that's a whole thing that we won't get into tonight because we are an hour and 40 minutes in, and I want to end on a high note right now. Joshua, our news editor of Comic Book Canon, you did an outstanding job of gathering the news, picking and choosing which ones to show. You have made at least one enemy tonight. At least one enemy, which is, obviously Jordan Norrie. But other than that, I think everybody appreciates the efforts that you put into this.
Does he need some tissues?
Oh, here we go. You're honestly, you're poking the bear. Stop. But anyways, fantastic recap of San Diego Comic-Con. So happy to have Christopher here as well as the Honorable Dan De La Torre. We are going to do a quick fresh from the comic shop. How's that sound, Joseph?
Yeah. We'll bust through it. I think we did skip one very important thing, and I think we should just collectively do it here. Because we normally after the news we'll just say hi to everyone. So I think one big hello to all of you who have been here for the last hour and 40 minutes, whether you're a first-time viewer or you're here every week. Thanks for being here. Thanks for listening to us ramble about something we love so much. And yeah, stick around because we're doing Fresh from the Comic Shop as our last segment.
All right. Now, Chris, I'm not sure if you have other commitments this evening. This was a wonderful surprise. So feel free to say goodbye or hang out. Wait, what is that?
Oh, he's got Fresh from the Comic Shop.
He's prepared. Come on. He's a
Chris is in. All right. So Joe and I don't have any fresh books to show. I know Josh has one in submissions. Chris has one in hand, and Mr. De La Torre, Honorable De La Torre, what is your situation?
I got as many as you need. So
yeah, I got a couple over here.
Yeah.
Oh, I think we got to jam through these guys.
I'll go real quick with mine.
Yeah.
Okay, go for it. Oh, eventually. Yes, my bad. Whoo, it's getting
We
late.
gotta get in. Let's speed up the entrance to the Fresh from the
Sure.
Comic
Fresh
Shop.
from the comic shop. Submit your fresh gets each and every week. You can win a wonderful prize from EGS and Spider Dude Comics, a beautiful slab. This it will be decided this July book of the month. We have our finals already set. We did have a semifinals this past week, and it was Spuds over Goonish, 66-34.
Wow.
Wow.
Yeah, so well done, Spuds, for your, I think that was her first submission.
Yep.
So in the finals, it will be Nori Jordan versus Spuds, and that's gonna be a tight one. So we'll have that up this week, probably tomorrow or Tuesday, I would say. Just a quick reminder. Get your Fresh from the Comic Shop t-shirt down below. Link is down below. You can get your Cannon Crew t-shirt as well.
Woo!
CNGO, our Comic Nerds Geek Out. Moving on, we have, just a recap, for January, we have Mike Haggs, who won with the Secret Wars. We have Dr. Plagueis with the Turtles and Batman crossover. We got Mons Comics with the Man Thing. I love this one right here. We have Nukes Comics with, can't remember what that is. It's actually backboards and back. I can't speak, but you know what. We got Kaboom Comics, who was not happy with RDJ as the casting, I do believe, with the Wolverine. We have Super Crispy Comics from June, the winner of June. This is actually Kaboom Comics drawing on there. It's fantastic. So. Yeah, but here we go. We're going to get into the submissions this week. Again, Fresh from the Comic Shop. Make sure to tag us in the picture. You can, if you move on to the semifinals, you have your fellow Cannon Crew members voting on that to get you to the finals, where, again, we have a big vote. And you can win a book of the year come tournament time in March. All right, here we go. We're going to get to it. Nori Jordan is our first submission. Josh's new enemy. Here we go. What do we got? This week, I heard there was some Deadpool movie out, but let's not have that overshadow the cast of the Thunderbolts that was at San Diego Comic-Con. In honor, I was able to find 4 more newsstand variants needed to help complete my run of having every direct newsstand and variant from every series. I thought I had already accomplished, but a few books escaped me. I've tried challenging myself by looking for them in the wild, but my patience has worn off. So eBay and Instagram, here I come. For those who still have Deadpool fever, yeah, he was a Thunderbolt. Take care, everyone. It's almost like
I didn't know
unhealthy.
Deadpool was ever a Thunderbolt. That's pretty cool.
I would trust Jordan Nori over you.
I'm sure he's correct.
Yeah. So, all right. Give us your first fresh get. All right, Joseph. Actually, give us one fresh get. How about that?
Am I only doing one this week? Oh God,
Brohan.
this is a tough one. All right. Well,
Oh my gosh! Look at Josh here
this
again.
book.
Talking smack. Thunderbolts. How original! Wow.
You two need to duke it out.
Seriously.
Maybe a Terrificon. Nori Jordan, are you going to be a Terrificon? Because I think Josh is coming up, so you guys can battle it out. Anyway, my fresh get right here is Beware number 6. This is from 1953. You all know, if you watch the channel, you know I love pre-code horror. That's one of the big things that I collect. And specifically, one thing that I collect is books that were used in Seduction of the Innocent. And this is, in fact, a Sodi book used in Seduction of the Innocent. It's from 1953. There is a lot of stuff going on with this book. That is why it's used in Seduction of the Innocent. Most probably the most damning thing is that there's what does it say on the back here? There's like an immense amount of like brutality in this towards like mainly towards women. So it's kind of like one of those situations where they didn't want to like paint this bad picture of violence towards women. And that is definitely something big. It's also got like corpse on the cover, which is one of the things that they mentioned in Seduction of the Innocent. This one particularly is a corpse like getting up out of the grave, almost like zombified at this point, but skeletal. I love this stuff. I love this weird 1950s, really gory, gruesome pre-code horror.
Always bring it. You always bring it.
know.
Moving on. Again, I love how Jordan is talking smack on Josh's submission here. Let's talk about the freshness of Josh's post. So here's Josh's right here. Josh can respond if he would like to, but let's just get into it quick. I love this. This is a good setup. I like it. Infamous Iron Man #1. Dr. Doom becomes Iron Man. The biggest bomb was dropped at Marvel Hall H last night. Not only are the Russo brothers returning to direct, but Avengers 5 will be called Avengers Doomsday, and RDJ is officially back in the MCU as Dr. Doom. I can't wait to see how this plays out. These next few years will be amazing for all MCU fans. Enjoy this fresh from the comic shop, and remember, say no to FOMO for sure. Christopher, your fresh get of the week.
Real quick, is this where I can put my opinion in on this book?
You sure can. Make it quick though. Let's do it.
All right, I'll make it quick. I did a video if you guys want to watch it on my channel. It doesn't make sense. There's no correlation to this book. And Josh, not that it's not a cool fresh get. So regardless if Robert Downey Jr. is an evil Stark variant or if he's Victor Von Doom, it has nothing to do with this book, because this is basically when Victor Von Doom becomes Iron Man. And I don't think Tony Stark is going to play Victor Von Doom and then wear the Iron Man armor. And also, it's the first appearance of the AI Tony, which had nothing to do with what happened this weekend. So it doesn't make sense. This book is going for 4, 5, 6 times as much as it was yesterday. And it makes no sense because there is absolutely no correlation as we know it.
Say no to FOMO.
Yep.
That's it.
No before you go. What do you got though, Chris?
Okay.
Yeah, I'm excited about this.
All right. So, there's a little bit of story, but I won't take too long. I'll show you guys this bag here. So for those that don't know, I made a road trip up to the Pacific Northwest. We drove all the way
By the
to...
way, Caleb's shouting out flops for props for flops.
Wait a minute. I paid $1 and $10 in the same day for that book.
There you go.
So.
No matter what, that's a props. So guys, I was gone for 9 days. We went to Portland, we went to Seattle, and all the areas in between. We went to the coast, went to Astoria, visited the Goonies home. This is one comic book spot, Cosmic Monkey out in Portland, got some stuff in there. I have a video that it's going to take a lot of work. I'm going to do a whole trip video where I visited like 9 comic book stores. And it's going to be a really, really cool video that I'm going to put together. And I'm going to rate all the shops that I went to and show you guys everything that I picked up. I'm looking at it right here on this table. Every shop I went to, I supported, I bought something. But I thought today would be an awesome time to show in a fresh from the comic shop since I showed up today on the Canon. So I went to one spot in Beaverton, Oregon, which is like a suburb of Portland, about 20 minutes out from Portland. And it was basically a sports card store. All sports cars in the racks, packs, bundles, sports memorabilia, jerseys, bobbleheads. We went there because my son wanted to go there. He wanted to get some baseball cards. And we sure enough, we walked, because I'm like, nah, man, we got to go to Portland. I don't want to do this. So he was like, come on, Dad. I'm like, okay, let's go. We went, and I walked in, and of course, there's these shelves with some they weren't even comic book boxes. You know what they were? They were like the little cardboard filing boxes that are like, yeah, that you might see in a cubicle on somebody's desk when they're filing paperwork. No, most of them, no bags, no boards, whatever. And it said on there, some of them were like 3 for $7 and some of them were 3 for $10. And I'm like, And I went looking through. There was some cool Bronze Age stuff, some Spider-Man stuff. And I'm just looking, I'm like, this is not bad stuff. But the one book that I pulled out, and I got to show you. And for all those that are like, gonna be like, yo, you ripped somebody off. I'll talk about that too briefly. But I've been doing Journos comics. I started my channel, for those that don't know, in 2016, just showing off some comics. I went real official with it in 2020 during the pandemic. ever since then, and watching other YouTubers, I've always wanted to have my score. Everyone wants their score. Now, I bought collections and got good deals. I've never had a score. And for those that collect comics, I don't even need to explain what that is. You guys know what I mean by a score.
Oh, yeah.
I found my score. I paid basically $350 for this comic book right here.
Oh, please be what I think it is. Oh, it's not.
Next Spider-Man 194, first appearance of the Black Cat. And no, it's not even a reader copy. As is, it is in, I would say it's in the very fine range.
What?
It's got super sharp corners.
Looks
possibly
pretty.
Yeah, if I give this a press, it's going to be in the near mint range, hands down.
Wow.
Hands down. And no spine ticks pretty much at all. It is a beautiful, beautiful copy, off-white to white pages. And now I do want to say, I have to add this in there. I actually even talked to the owner about it. I went back in afterwards. So the owner basically doesn't even care about the comics. He got a couple collections in and just put them out there and said, I want to make a little money off of these. So
Wow.
yeah, he even said he sold it. Like, he was like, when I started, I had he had a graded copy of Amazing Spider-Man 129 and sold it for like $100. It was like a high, and he was like, whatever. I'm selling sports cards. So, but yeah, so this was I finally found something that I thought was really cool to where, this is the score, and I'm excited.
That's
and
amazing, by the way. Everybody's getting jealous here.
Joe, take notes.
Yeah.
Oh, congratulations, Chris. That's fantastic.
That's pretty thick, man. Great book.
Incredible.
And it's a great price,
350.
too, by the way.
Wow.
That's for
Great
sure a score. All right, we are going to move on again because we are up against it with one of our favorite guys that posts here regularly, and that is Raising Elm. He never disappoints. Does he ever?
Wow.
Never disappoints. Jeff, I need your very best Ryan Reynolds impression for this one. And as you all remember, I did a pretty good one. I think it was last week, Joe and Josh. So here we go. I'll do my best. So breaking the fourth wall is a lot like breaking the ice. You want to start with a good joke, like I can't do this without rehearsing it, by the way. So I'm not.
That was good. That was a good start.
A Deadpool and a Wolverine walk into a bar. The bartender looks at Deadpool and asks, "What is this? Some sort of a joke?" Deadpool laughs no, I can't. I'm not doing it, guys. I'm not. Deadpool laughs unreservedly and states, "No, a joke would be to see Warren Worthington III stroll in here and order a Red Bull or maybe a flight of beers." Cue up laugh tracks from the rest of the Golden Girls. That's right, nerdlets. It's me, your hirsute old pal Beardpool, the merc with the mouth. You can't see because there's entirely too much woolliness. It's almost like I got a mouthful of manes, saber-tooth mane. Blah. Talk about coughing up a hairball in the middle of the living room on Josh's grandma's rug. Love it. One could argue that the marketing for this new Deadpool and Wolverine film is borderline oversaturation, like what Deadpool did to that same rug. But I tend to side with those that ignore the nutrition label on the side of the box and consume all the tasty saturated goodness. I'm looking at you, Coke, Heineken, Jack in the Box, Heinz, and DiGiorno's, and I'm smelling at you, Old Spice. What's in the box, you might ask? Well, Morgan Freeman. It's definitely it's so good. It's definitely not Headpool. Justin Super Duper Uber Fresh from the Comic Shop submission, Marvel vs. Deadpool and Wolverine, a combination of 4 escapades or horse divers to help satiate one's hunger before our main course this weekend. Remember, it's not delivery, it's Deadpool. Everyone go enjoy 2 epic legends coming together for one wild thrill ride, which I'm sure will leave us begging for more. And as always, much love, comic fam. BYOB, bring your own beard. P.S. Don't be weird with the exclusive Wolverine popcorn buckets, or you'll make the Dune popcorn buckets jealous. Beard pool out. Yo. He just continues.
Wow.
I'm not saying it's impossible to beat that post, but I'm saying it's gonna be goddamn hard.
You tell him, yeah. Who else do we have here? Mr. De La Torre, you'll get one fresh from the comic shop to show off. What do you got?
Actually, I'll rapid fire too, if you don't mind.
Okay.
I got it was a struggle at the Comic-Con.
Was it $3.50?
Oh dear God, no! You had to dig and dig and dig. But I did find some deals, and I was on a budget this time. I found this one here. This is Marvel Premiere number 9. This is the Death of the Ancient One, and this is drop dead gorgeous. It feels brand new in your hand, and I was very nervous holding it because it's so gorgeous. This could be probably a 9.6 with a press. It's that clean. I don't know if it could make a 9.8 because there's one little spine tick right over here, and if there's a color break, I don't know if you can do anything about that. But it's absolutely drop dead gorgeous. I've been looking for this for a long time, and the price was fantastic. But the deal I made, the best deal was of this one here, Avengers number 9, first appearance of Wonder Man. I've never had this comic before, and this was I paid only $60 for this. I could not pass it up. Why? They were honest. There was a little color touch up right about here, but that can be removed. But they were honest about it, and they had another one for $200. This one for $60. I obviously went for this one. This I'm nearly complete with my Avengers 1 through 10 collection. I just need 6, 8, and 10.
Wow,
this is a deep grail. So anyway, wanted to have it. And
Dan,
finally in my collection. That's
a killer deal at $60 because even if you need, sometimes with color touch, you actually need to remove a piece of the cover. And even if it's like a small piece, removing like say a square centimeter or two,
right?
It's not going to drop the grade that much because it's already it looked like a kind of a lower side of mid grade book, at least from what I could see. You're killing it. $60. First appearance of Wonder Man for under $100, even in low grade, even with like a detached cover, that's a great deal. So yeah, definitely a really good con buy, and that is proof that if you look hard enough, there are good deals at cons.
I'm going to leave the color as it is. I mean, I bought it as it is. Sure. It still looks great, so I don't care. So
cool.
Anyway, that's what I got.
That's a great pickup right there for sure. We have one more submission left here. If you haven't already, like and subscribe. We are the most popular show on YouTube with 20 million people currently watching us right now. So again, like and subscribe if you haven't already, but most of the world has. Moving on, we got Mark Lineker, Young Love 68 from July 1968. First appearance of Lisa St. Clair and the start of her year-long storyline. Terrific yellow cover by noted good girl artist J. Scott Pike with inks by Dick Gordiano. I believe that was a Batman artist. If Lisa looks familiar, she clearly served as a prototype for Dolphin. Created and drawn by Pike, appearing months later in Showcase 79. That cover's dope right there. Very cool. Again, the nuggets that Mr. Lineker gives us every time he submits. We love it. All right, gentlemen. The judge. I'm removing the camera. There's the judge right there. Okay, looking good. Welcome, Judge, Your Honor.
Thank you, everyone. Gentlemen, present your case.
Listen, I just want to. I think Joe and I are going. Well, I don't know. What should we do? Chris, maybe.
Yeah, we give Chris. Chris doesn't come on very often. We're glad to have him.
Yes, welcome back,
Chris. Pick a winner, man.
Oh man, I miss doing this. Well. This was
the three of you do this because you can't have a tie.
Yeah, we can. Well, we all pick different ones.
Actually, the three, because we are all comic book canon, the three of us. So actually, we should probably do it like we normally do it, Joe, but just adding Chris in here.
Yeah, and Chris is OG. He's more OG than me.
So I have one. It's just above and beyond. And I
think I have the same one.
We'll have Chris go last because I have a feeling it's going to be dramatic when he goes last.
Yeah, very much.
Sure. I'm going to go first. I'm going to just say it. I think Raising Elm just continues to raise the bar.
Put it up on the screen, Jeff, because I just want to point out, I don't know if you mentioned this when it was up before, but this is supposed to be like a Ring camera or a security camera outside someone's house. And at the top it says camera X23.
Yep, I
And
saw that.
Such a freaking funny reference. Not only that, but like
he doesn't make the reference. It's very like it's not super subtle, but he doesn't say anything about it in the description.
Right. And I love the Wolverine attached to the shirt and the reference to the popcorn bucket, and just this. And it's always good. I always love seeing people in their picture, because we see all your books. We don't see your faces too often. Now that we're doing the popcorn thing, we're getting some reveals like Dr. Plagueis a couple weeks ago. But this is so good. It's hard. All the submissions every week are great. I love them. But
we love the effort everybody takes.
He really raises the bar.
Yeah.
Chris.
All right, so we know that Raising Elm does an amazing job. I may have been away from things for a long time, but I still see every submission that he does. It's always great. And you think it's like it's just sometimes it's not fair because it's just so good.
Yes.
But with that being said, and this is why this week was probably the easiest week for me. But I agree, guys. There's no okay. So you guys got the yearly thing. I do know this, right? You're doing the yearly thing, right? Where you're going to pick a year and
he has never won. By the way,
which is crazy.
He's never won.
Really? Oh well, since when?
Raising Elm has never won.
Even when I was still here?
I don't think so. No.
I think really.
I think he won. I think
there was. Yeah,
maybe he won last year. Maybe.
Yeah, maybe even 2 years ago. Yeah, long way back. So.
By the way, I skipped one, and I'm sorry. I'm going to throw it in here. This is bad on my part. Mike Haggs, Thundercats issue 1, Black and White Virgin Limited, 200 copies and signed by Jay Lee. Thundercats was a staple growing up in my house along with He-Man and Silverhawks. Those are my 3 favorites. So this was a must grab for me. 25% off, so a no-brainer. And since it's new to the collection, a definite submission for Fresh from the Comic Shop. I'm sorry, Mike Haggs. I have to say that's a great submission, but he's not eligible anyway. So,
Well, I was going to say though for Raising Elm, I'm ready to call Tony and Spider Dude Comics and just say we're calling the rest of the year off and giving it to Raising Elm for this one. I know I can't, but I just wanted to say that I'm going. There's just this takes everything that we started with the 3. What we look for, into a whole other realm of things, and he's so good at doing the setup with him behind the camera, and like you guys are saying, this just brings another element to me. Like this is like one of those album covers that. Is recognized like 30, 40 years as like greatest album covers of all time or something like this. This just has so much feel and vibe, but then you add what he does in the description that adds to the post. And just like you said, the little details here and there, this not only goes above and beyond, but this just it breaks. I mean, he glitched the Fresh from the Comic Shop interface motherboard. It's broken now because it's just so good. So
so maybe what we need.
What
we might need now, we have our yearly winner, which is awesome. We might need to institute a Fresh from the Comic Shop Hall of Fame at some point.
We've been talking about this. We need to start keeping track. That's another thing we need to keep track of. But look, let's just for right now.
I
think we all agree, the 3 of us, that Raising Elm should move on to the first semifinals in August. Your Honorable Judge De La Torre, please.
This makes my job very easy when there's a unanimity, and that's my $5 word for the week. This is very easy, and it's Raising Elm for the win. Case dismissed.
There you have it. There you have it, indeed. It's a loss for words. So well done, Justin. Well done. Again, you are moving on. We will have be on the lookout for our Instagram stories to vote on the finals for July, which goes Spuds Comics versus Nori Jordan. That's going to be another epic battle to win this wonderful, wonderful EGS Slab and Spider Dude Comics book. Guys, this has been an epic, epic show. Like, I'm exhausted from going through all of the news and talking about all of this stuff, but it's very exciting. I don't think we've had a kind of a mic drop moment in Comic-Con for a couple of years now. Is that right? Like, this was just great.
At least.
This certainly overshadowed all of them.
Everything. Yeah. So again, Josh, great job for covering all of this stuff, as well as the stuff that you don't talk about just yet, but you plan to. We truly appreciate you. You, sir, are an asset, and we'll make your quarter box debut at some point when I can figure out how I stylize the pictures of me, Joe, and Chet. Christopher, honestly, absolute honor. I'm gonna, from the bottom of my heart, I really love seeing you the way you are now. I know you've been through some stuff. We're not going to get into details, but you sound great. You look great, and we are so happy for that.
I do want to say, if I could take another minute of everyone's time, like, this is the first full show that I've been on, and I think in like a year and a half.
Yeah, at least.
And I'm just, I am filled with emotions, and I know a lot of people. I'm still, and I want to say this again. You know, I have so many messages over the last, 8+ months from people just reaching out to me, and I'm telling you guys, I'm trying to get to everyone, but it just really feels good to be able to be a part of something. It feels good to be able to come here and sit here and be mindful and present with awesome people and not feel like I'm in some dark place, which life does to us sometimes. Mm-hmm. So I'm very grateful, and I'm so glad I was able to come here today and just hang out. Yep. Thank you.
Chris, I told you this months ago or a while ago, you have a lot of love in this community for you. You've affected a lot of people. You've affected me. And that's not easy to do, by the way. You and I are brothers. I love you, and I'm not alone. You've got so many people that support you.
Everybody here.
We've missed you. We've missed you, man. So, but you take this at your own time. This is your life to deal with, but we will be here when you are ready.
Chris, I just gotta say too, man, it was a nice surprise that you stopped by tonight.
By the way, I love we surprised Josh and Dan.
I had no idea, but I've been seeing your pictures you've been posting when you went on your trip, and seeing how happy you are in the pictures and everything, and then you starting to make your way back to the videos. But like Dan said, we miss you and we all love you, and I'm really happy to see you happy again, and it's a great thing. And anytime we can get you back on the show, whether it's a surprise or not, I think it's a great thing, and we're always here for you, man.
Thanks, man. Thanks, Josh. I appreciate you guys so much.
Absolutely. And I'm gonna say, on that note, I think it's a positive note. Joe, you have a couple words, and then we're just gonna close the show out.
Oh, I'm capping things off. It's been an exciting week. Deadpool and Wolverine and San Diego Comic-Con in the same week. Dan, that's awesome that you got to go, not only be there, but also be part of San Diego Comic-Con. You got to send that thing. Talk to Tony. See if he'll grade that. Because I think you need that with a custom EGS table. Yeah.
Then you gotta hang it. You gotta put it in the background so that way we can see it at all times.
Yeah,
it was an honor. It was a huge honor. Go ahead, Joe, please.
Yeah, just as always, like I said earlier, this hobby we love so much. There's so many people out there that are kind of on the verge. They're on the verge of this hobby. They're watching the movies. They're maybe traveling into a comic shop to look around. Maybe they buy some Funko Pops here and there, but they're not picking up the comics off the shelf, which I think we're moving towards some things. We've got some good things coming, and I think it can really reinvigorate this hobby. Like we shouted out earlier, Jaden, Aurora, if you're still watching, with their mom, Julia, shout out Next Generation. I love that. And, you know, we got to keep doing this. We got to keep doing these shows, chatting comics. It makes every week awesome. I had a unfortunate day today. A friend of mine passed away. We went to a funeral today, and kind of the whole day, obviously it's a somber event. It was good to see people. You know, that's the one good thing about funerals. It brings people together. But like, just to come home to this and like be able to like relax, because this is relaxing. This is compared to my normal life. This is so relaxing. So yeah, thanks for being part of it, Chris. Always great to see you. Dan, thank you for giving us so much input. Josh, you got your first full show with us, doing the news the whole time. And Jeff, you're okay too, man. I appreciate it.
I'm all right. I like the pat on the back. Everybody, again, thank you so much. Please like and subscribe if you haven't already. You are the reason why we do this, and you are the fuel that powers the cannon. So please join us every Sunday night at 8 p.m. Eastern Time, 5 p.m. Pacific. Until then, be good to yourself and be good to others. Peace.